G'day everyone, Erlang is known to be one of the hardest bosses in the game, and he's definitely a challenge. We're a few weeks into the game now, and there's a few known ways to make him easier, and I'll go over those, but I think it's one of those fights where everyone's experience will be a little different, and everyone's going to struggle on slightly different things. So while we watch my kill video, I'll explain the boss's core mechanics, and I'll go over some general tips to arm you with as much information as you can to hopefully help you all get this boss down. I'll then go through my normal combo and ability breakdown in detail, because I know a lot of you watch my videos specifically for that. Alright, so the main thing that sets this boss apart from the others is his defense bar, which is this extra little white bar above his health. When this bar is active, the boss will parry your attacks if he's not in the middle of his own combo, which significantly reduces the damage you deal to him. If he parries more than about 3 light attacks in a row, he will often knock you back down with a bit of a counter in one of those mini cutscenes. Now after phase 1, while that defense bar is active, immobilize also won't work, he'll just wave it off like he did there. Rock Solid still works, so to speak, but he'll always retaliate with one of these big ground AoE attacks with these axe. With the defense bar active, he will also just sometimes dodge your heavy attacks. Although quick 4-point thrust stance heavy attacks can be used during his combos and he won't be able to dodge them. And if that wasn't enough, pretty much all the transformations you have will be deactivated if he hits you with basically anything. Alright, so his defense bar is bad for us. What do we do about it though? Well, heavy attacks as I just showed you and varied attacks in the smash stance are quite effective as you see here in chipping it away. You can also get into the habit of doing 3 light attacks into his parry every time, that chips away a decent amount. And then any spirits that do big stance damage will also go through it, things like your Wandering Wight or your Earth Wolf. My recommendation is non-able. As you see here, after 3 light attacks, non-able will do 3 punches that do shockwaves and will take out a significant amount of that bar. Now once that bar breaks, you have 30 seconds or until the next phase to deal as much damage as you can. As you can see, he gets staggered quite a bit easier and a lot of your attacks will interrupt him. This is a great time to use Immobilize and heavy attacks if you need the damage, but mine will be overkill right now because he's about to transition at 75% health. So at 75%, like he's doing now, he's going to fly off up into the air and he's going to come flying back down with a huge axe. I'll show it again later in the combo breakdown, but basically you dodge to the left and forward and then you jump backwards to the right over that wave. Now if you're using non-able, this is a great spot to get a 4 light attack non-able in, 4 light attacks non-able, and then get your finishing 5th in as well for a lot of decent damage. As soon as you finish that, you can use Cloud Step and go into casting your vessel from invisibility. Now the single biggest tool that you have to kill that defense bar is the Plantain fan vessel. In just a few seconds, as you see here, it will completely kill the entire defense bar. As soon as that's down, you want to use your heavy attacks and your immobilize and spamming with your spirit to do as much damage as you can, and you want to basically burn him down to 50% in this small window. You can afford to be a little reckless here, and you should, because you've only got a small window to really burn him down quickly, while your attacks are staggering him quite a bit. By doing this, you can basically skip the entirety of phase 2, going straight from 75% to 50%, where he transitions into phase 3. When he flies off and does all these big light beams, this is the transition into phase 3. Again, I'll show you how to dodge this in my combo breakdown later. Basically though, don't move from where you start, and you need to dodge the 4th and the 6th beam. A single dodge input will suffice for each. And then when he starts the rapid barrage of little ranged projectiles, I think they're swords, you can simply use your staff spin to deflect all those and then dodging the final attack. The timing on that one is pretty tricky though. Now while his moveset remains basically the same for the rest of the fight now from 50% down, there is kind of 2 more phases because he will reset his defense bar at 25%. There just won't be a big transition animation like there was at 75 and 50. Now you'll probably need to do a little bit of brawling with him in phase 3, take a little bit of damage here and there, that's fine because we're using Sunset of the Nine Skies drink, which restores a considerable amount of chi for our vessel, and we're going to need to use a few charges just to get it back, so it doesn't really matter if you're taking damage because you're going to be taking a few sips. So once you've gotten about 30 or 40% of his defense bar while you're brawling with him, use the Azure Dust transformation. Now this is the other main tool that you have to help really kill these stance bars, and it's basically the only transformation that he doesn't remove you from for whatever reason. But it's great for us, so just walk at him and use light attacks. His attacks will deflect off you very nicely and he won't be able to really do anything, and you can just repeatedly hit those light attacks. And this will chip away quite nicely at his 3rd defense bar. Now I played phase 1 normally, but if you're struggling with phase 1 or just don't want to deal with it and prefer to cheese as much as you can use the Mirage pills to restore a huge amount of your might, and so you can use him in phase 1 as well and then use it again in phase 3. Same logic also applies to the Septenary Heartfire pill, which resets all your cooldowns. You can use this at whatever point in the fight suits you and suits your playthrough to reset both your transformations as well as your vessel, your Plantain fan. So as you saw, the final hit from the transformation finished off his defense bar, and now we're going to use Immobilize and we're going to blast him down to 25%. Again, don't be afraid to trade some damage here. It's important that you blast him down to 25% while you can. Use Cloud Step as I did there if anything particularly spicy comes your way, and then keep chipping away, and as you get him down to 25%, you'll see that his defense defense bar will reset again. Alright, so we're in the final 25%, and as you can see, the vessel, the Plantain fan, is nearly off cooldown. We're going to take 1 or 2 more drinks, and that should be enough to reset it. His combos are very lethal in this phase, so we do need to respect him a little bit. We'll wait this combo out and actually avoid the abilities before we try and just drink mindlessly to use our fan. And then as soon as you've got a safe moment, you're going to take a few drinks just to finish off that reset on the Plantain fan. And then again, when you cast the fan, it's going to summon that whirlwind, which is going to completely destroy his entire defense bar. Let the whirlwind do its job while you just follow along. Don't get trigger happy like I did here and blow your immobilize while he still has a defense bar. As you saw, it got removed immediately. And then same as the other 3 phases, as soon as that defense bar is gone, you're hitting him with heavy attacks, as well as any cloud steps or immobilizers that you have and your spirit to finish him off. Now, the exact build that you use, honestly, isn't too important. Everyone's fight's going to feel a little different, and the important thing is to make the best use that you can with the Plantain fan as well as the Azure dust transformation. But there's definitely some options that are better than others, so let's have a look. For this, I was using the Gale Guard set just because I think it's a really good all-rounder set. The mythical 4-piece set significantly extends your dodge time, which is just really handy and makes all your dodging a little more forgiving. The golden set is also a really good option to consider, especially if you're really relying on the Plantain fan. The 4 set of this will get your Plantain fan back quicker by doing critical hit. Jingu Bang is just hands down the best option at this stage. If you are struggling and don't have this because you haven't played through chapter 6 yet, I'd recommend doing that just to get this stuff. I'm obviously using the Plantain fan and non-able spirit. I talked about those at length. Curios aren't too influential. I'm just using the White Seashell Waste Chain for attack damage, the prayer beads for more focus gain, as well as the Cat's Eye beads for crit. Immobilize Tree is useful for when you get that defense bar down, you need to burst him quickly. You don't really need Cloud Step. I just had a few points here just to increase the duration to give us a bit more fudge. And a Pluck of Many in the phases where his defense bar goes down is really useful, although I didn't actually have enough mana to use it. I found the Smash Stance varied attacks most useful for phase 1 and just in general throughout the fight. And then I've taken quite a few points in Foundation. This honestly depends on your playstyle and your preference. The Martial Tree is probably the least useful here. I always take Stamina and then some of the damage passives first. If you're going to double up on your transformation uses, you could put a few points into the transformation skills at the bottom there, but otherwise I just take Steadfast. Alright, combo and ability breakdown time. He always starts the fight the same way by doing this ability here where he leaps over you. You should be watching the spear above his head, and when that pulses light for a moment, that's your cue to dodge backwards once. Once he lands next to you, do 2 auto attacks into a second dodge. After this, he'll swing his spear back up and around into a final slash. This can register 2 hits if you're too close, so dodge away initially and then back through him for the second slash. Make sure you're watching for that pulse of light to time your first dodge, and then use those 2 auto attacks to time your second dodge. They're there for a reason, as well as to get a little bit of free damage. Now, his most common spear combo in phase 1 starts like this, where he has the spear backwards on his right hand side. He follows this with 3 slashes, followed by a slam of the hilt, which doesn't actually hit you or do any damage, followed by a final golden somersault slam. The first 3 dodges should be immediately back to back, and then after the 3rd slash, when he slams his hilt into the ground, use either an extra roll away that you don't need, or a single light attack to time your following dodge. In Smash Stance, this works perfectly. As soon as you see that golden slam of the hilt, do 1 light attack immediately followed by your resolute strike, and you can use Skyfall Strike here as well to avoid all the damage. When he readies the spear on his right hand side but facing forward like this, it's about to be a 5-part attack. He'll do 3 frontal slashes as he moves forward, followed immediately by a quick uppercut, and then a slightly delayed downward slam. I found it most consistent to stay out of the first 2, dodging backwards twice, and then dodge forward into him and back immediately, put a slight delay, and then 1 more dodge into him. I found the double hit on that second slash too annoying. It nearly always caught me, and so just staying back, going backwards for the first 2 was the most consistent. Alright, his 3rd basic combo is when he puts the spear on his left hand side backwards like this, and this is a simple 3-part attack. It'll be 2 slashes, a slight delay, and then the 3rd. There's nothing too complicated with this one. First 2 rolls are back to back, and then a slight delay before the 3rd. Alright, and we've got some ranged attacks. When he takes this stance and his annoying little dog flies off to the top right of the screen, after a short delay he'll throw his spear through you, and then he'll follow it a short moment later. At the other end, he'll shoot you with one of his laser beams. For the first dodge, wait until he's nearly done a full little spin in the air and his dog is flying down in front of him, and then he can just run to the side or do a second dodge just a moment later. The final dodge warns you with a very brief flash from his 3rd eye at the top of his head there, and it comes out pretty quickly. Pay attention to the audio cues, they're quite useful for all of these. His other range attack starts with him jumping back with a bit of a slash, and then he'll loose his sword and kick it at you. He'll dash to the side and charge his spear with lightning, and then after a brief delay, he'll lunge at you and do a big slash. The first dodge timing is pretty intuitive. I'm just waiting to see his spear come up above his right knee, and then be patient for the second dodge. Don't go too early. Wait until you actually see him start to move towards you and kind of arc out to the right a little bit. When he starts in this low stance with his weapon on his right hand side facing upwards like this, it's a 4-part attack. He will lunge at you and then immediately follow with an uppercut kick, This requires 2 immediate back-to-back dodges. My second one was too slow there. And then once he's in this stance, you need to give it a decent delay before dodging through him once when he does a big impale. And then as his foot glows and he turns fully around to face you again, dodge through him again once. When he charges at you quickly with his weapon in his right-hand side like this, it's going to be a 4-part attack. The first 3 are very delayed slashes, followed by the final impale, which is the grab attack that might have gotten you a few times. I use a single light attack after that first dodge just to help time the second one, and then dodge backwards for the third and into him for the fourth, otherwise that dog can hit you sometimes. I didn't get this one very often, but when he starts with a downwards kick like this, he'll do a follow-up kick of the sword, followed by one of these big lightning ground slams. For this one here, which is the same ability that he uses a few times throughout this fight, you need to wait as he does those little spins on the way in, until he gets to this point here where the weapon is behind his head and it starts going all red lightning like this. 1 dodge into him at this point is all you need. The last combo for phase 1 I'll show you is this here where he comes in and does 2 horizontal side slashes, followed by a little jump into the air and a lightning charged thrust. The first 2 dodges are fairly reactive. For the third, make sure you wait until you see the actual lightning pulse through his spear before dodging. Alright, that's it for phase 1. Let's take a look at phase 2. For this transition, you pretty much want to not move too far forward, and then wait until the head of the axe is moving fully off the top of your screen like this. You want this dodge to be forward and to the left. Once you finish that roll, you want to stand up and immediately jump backwards to the right, basically to finish where you started. If you do it like that, you'll also avoid the impact area as he comes down following it. From here, you can snap straight to him with some light attacks. Alright, now he's got a few axe attacks as well now. When he charges at you, sliding the axe along the ground in his left-hand side, the initial dodge needs to be very delayed. That's quite tricky to get used to, followed by 2 follow-up dodges. Sometimes he'll also go into this sequence here. You just get away from this one, it doesn't do much otherwise. Usually it will be standalone though, like this one, just 3 dodges. Dodging backwards from these will be generally helpful because he does do like an extra little slash in between. When he drags the axe towards you, but on his right-hand side this time, he's going to do an uppercut as he arrives at you, which you need to dodge, and then he'll do a second slam towards the ground, which will send an icy wave outwards from the point of impact, which you also need to dodge if you don't dodge it in the initial landing. If you get the timing right for that second slam, you don't need to do any follow-up, you can just start hitting him back. But if you dodge backwards too early, like I did here, you can then immediately jump back over the wave. If you do that, it's a good chance to do a light attack into a heavy attack just for some free damage. When he backs away from you and then jumps up into the air and just disappears in a bit of a flash, he's about to reappear right next to you, and as he appears, he's going to nick you with his blade as he does an uppercut. You need to dodge that immediately as he appears, and then a very slow and delayed follow-up dodge into him as he does a big ground slam with that air wave again. When he quickly lunges at you, doing an uppercut on his right-hand side with his axe, he'll follow the uppercut with a second horizontal slash, which is pretty easy to dodge, and then at this point he diverges into one of 2 different combos. The first option is a very slow circular slash with a massive axe. As you see in this one, you do need a significant delay before that third slash. And then the other option is that after he does the uppercut into the slash, he'll get his spear back out, do another slash and uppercut into this point here where he hovers in the air with his sword in his right hand. And then after a decent delay, he'll come slashing down with 2 little bits that fly in from the side, and you need to dodge once through him after a decent delay. He also shares this same start with phase 1 where he'll dash at you with a double uppercut, but this time he'll transition into that same stance we just saw where he's in the air with the sword up in his right hand, and it's the same as we just saw. After a small delay, 1 dodge, forward or back. This time though, he'll jump back and then do a final thrust with a little thing that comes out, so you need to dodge sideways. When he takes this low stance and crosses his sword and spear, he's about to do a 5-part combo. He'll slash at you twice with both weapons while he moves forwards. He'll then leap at you with his spear, do a little aerial thrust with his sword, and finally a horizontal slash with both weapons again. I found the best way to deal with this was to just dodge backwards for his first 2 slashes, and then go straight into 1 auto attack and a resolute strike as he leaps at you with his spear. You can follow the resolute strike with the skyfall strike, and this will effectively interrupt him and you avoid the rest of the combo, which is pretty nasty. When he turns on the spot and then does a big leap towards you with his spear kind of arcing around on his left hand side, this is a 4-part combo. He'll do the initial slash with the spear as he arrives at you, followed by a little aerial sword thrust. He then does a bit of a leg sweep thing, followed by a final horizontal slash. The easiest way I started dodging this was simply to add a light attack in between every dodge. If you don't leave any delays between your dodges and light attacks, this will work perfectly. He has another leaping slash that looks exactly the same. He just didn't do the little turn on the spot first, but that's kind of hard to notice. So you do usually have to react to this. After he slashes, a bunch of swords will shoot down in an area around him. He'll then climb up into the air a few times before doing a big red lightning charged ground slam, and the swords will all shoot back down, but you can use staff spin here to avoid that second bit of damage. Now when he takes this low stance and a cloud of snow puffs up around him, he's about to disappear in a bit of a flash again, and then he'll reappear right above you with a bit of a lightning bolt charging his sword, doing a downward slash. Dodge back for the initial slam, and then you need to do 2 more dodges as he does slashes, and then a third and final slam again with lightning. Now Resolute Strike is coming through again in the smash stance. The second you see him appear above you, you want to do 1 light attack into immediately your Resolute Strike. This is by far the best and most consistent way to dodge this. The 2 follow-up slashes and third slam are quite annoying, and this completely avoids them by using the follow-up Skyfall Strike, which interrupts the rest of the combo. He can very rarely do this series of horizontal slashes that he does here. He'll do 2 slashes, an overhead slam, finishing with a little impaling thrust. Instead of the impaling thrust, he can also finish this with a double I-beam attack. I think I literally only saw this once, but if you do come across it, here it is. He jumps up and does 1 beam from the air, and then he'll come down onto the ground into a bit of a squat and do another one. He's also got a new basic ranged attack where he just floats up into the air, and then after a short animation, he shoots his sword at you super fast. For this, you're basically watching for this animation here, just waiting, and then the second you see this flash at the eye, you dodge once. Alright, so for the transition, you're basically just counting beams, and we want to dodge the 4th and 6th. Don't move too fast. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, so we dodge here backwards, that's 5, and that's 6. This one's much slower, so we want to dodge in a moment. There it is. So once those beams have finished, they're going to fly off to the side here, and they're going to shoot heaps of swords at you. As soon as those start, you just want to start staff spinning, and those absorb all of those, and then dodge through once as soon as that finishes. To time this one, you're basically waiting for that really bright web of lightning in the middle there, and then dodging once after that. Now his abilities in phase 3 are largely the same as in phase 2. A few of them are kind of merged with each other, but otherwise they're largely the same. This is one of his new abilities. He does something similar to what he just did in the transition, where he'll shoot you for a while, you want to staff spin those, and then after you see that bright web of red lightning, you want to dodge once. He does have a few combos where the sword comes out and flies around by itself. It kind of acts as the dog did in phase 1 and 2. And as you see here, that's a new combo, but it's kind of the first half of one of the spear combos from phase 2, combined with the phase 1 combo that ends with that golden hilt smash. At some point in phase 3, he's going to do this one at least once, where he rides the big spear back and forwards across the room. You want to dodge those once each way, and then after the second one, he's going to fly up into the air and he's going to shoot 4 sequential laser beams at you. And then he'll finish with one of those big red lightning slams that we've seen before as well. So that's it everyone. Much longer than I intended today, but it is a very tough boss with a lot of things going on. So hopefully at least some of you could get something out of different parts of the video. If this helped you at all, either through the specific strategy or general knowledge of the boss, please drop a like, comment, or subscribe. It helps me heaps. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers.